looking good.
Thank you very much. Well, I didn't actually set them to auto-advance, but it won't be the first time where I've messed up an Ignite deck. So I view Ignite as all about creating rock stars, giving people a chance to share their passion, share their ideas in front of 500, 600 people. Not everyone gets the opportunity to do that, and Ignite is a forum for just that. And it all began, I don't know, 8 years ago at a small bar in Seattle. Myself and Bree Pettis, we wanted to find a place where geeks could share ideas over beer. There were too many conferences, it would take all weekend long, the sessions would be an hour each, and you'd know in the first 5 minutes that you were bored. So how about instead, we just condense it down to the 5 minutes that'll let you know if you're interested in the idea or not, and then you could follow up with the speaker later and have that hour-long conversation. And if you didn't like the topic, you could go get a beer. We also set a break in between speakers so that you could get beers anyway. So we put out the call. We had a small bar, seating for 120-some people. 200 people showed up. It was pretty amazing. And the event went off without a hitch or major hitch. And it all ended up centering around one core rule. Each speaker had 5 minutes on stage, 15 seconds a slide, 20 slides. Now, it sounds easy, but it's actually quite difficult to have the slides go and move you along throughout the talk. You don't know when they're going to change unless you've really practiced a lot. And if you're not used to being on stage, it can be quite intimidating. But the truth is that it's actually a great equalizer. Anyone who gets on stage, their slides are going to move along for them. They have to keep pace with the talk. It's live editing, as a friend of mine once said. You're not just talking and rambling. The slides are making you pace. And so while great speakers may be able to transcend, actually everyone, whether it's your first time on stage or middle time on stage, you really kind of nail it in the same fashion. And it also gives the audience a chance to laugh when people kind of screw up, as so many people do when their slides auto-advance or when they start tapping, waiting for the slide to go. And so it makes for a really fun atmosphere. And from that little bar in Seattle, it spread to over 200-some cities around the world. This is actually a map of the Global Ignite Week, which we did several years ago, and we had 65 events in 1 week. Now, throughout this talk, I'm going to talk a little bit about, 1, how we spread the event, 2, the evolution of the event, because it didn't start out with just those talks, and then 3, some of the issues that I had just in maintaining kind of a disparate organization around the world. So we ended up, as we started to spread, taking on the phrase, enlighten us but make it quick, which we thought summed up, give us your ideas succinctly. So we didn't at first intend to grow at all. It was actually just an event I wanted to do in Seattle for Seattle. But I happened to be working at O'Reilly for the time, and the first event happened in December, the second event was in February, and that grew to about 400 people. So I took it to San Francisco at the Web 2.0 Expo, which I happened to be chairing at the time. And we blogged about it. We ended up bringing people in solely by blog and Twitter, although 2006 Twitter wasn't quite as big. But we used social media to get the word out and spread. But we also took advantage of our speakers, or asked our speakers for help. You're going to be speaking, please promote it too. Now, this is all kind of obvious now, but at the time it was less so. There weren't as many outlets for social media at the time, but our speakers had a combined audience of 20 or 30,000 people, and that got us to 400. I started being a parasite on other events. Like I said, Web 2.0 Expo was the first kind of major event that we were at, but that followed on by doing GnomeDex, by doing Google I/O, by doing Twitter's first developer conference. And it was from there that it started to spread. But again, at the first Web 2.0 Expo, that wasn't my intention. I later found out that people had seen it and taken it back to Des Moines, Iowa, to start an Ignite. And it was from there that we started to structure the event in such a way that it could be spread. And we started to invite people to do that. And we did it like this. We created a logo, and we created a kit where you could type your city in. And that was it. It wasn't just going to be Ignite. It was going to be Ignite wherever you were. Ignite your city, ignite your conference, ignite inbound, ignite bold. In one place, actually, Ignite turns out to have a religious connotation, which I hadn't realized when we took it on. And so there was some conflict, so people started using area codes, especially in Kentucky. Now, no, Ignite 409, I think it is. And it was because we made it so inviting that people did start to do it. And I had learned this from Foo Camp. Foo Camp is called the Wiki of Conferences, and it actually ended up morphing into Bar Camp, which spread around the world. And Bar Camp followed a similar pattern. They made it very easy for people to copy them. And I learned it from Burning Man. Burning Man is an event that I go to every year, or pretty much every year, and it's an open community where people can take it and make it their own. So, always be inviting, and videos go everywhere. After a little while, I realized that 5-minute, bite-sized pieces of content could zoom across the internet in a way that nothing else could. And so we created a portal for this. And I just checked, and we have 3,000 some odd videos up there right now. And I know there are countless more out there on YouTube and Vimeo that didn't ever actually make it up to this site. So video is definitely your friend. Now, the evolution of the event. When Bree and I first got together, we wanted to create this like 2-hour kind of goat rodeo. And we were going to have 5, 10, and 15-minute segments, and there'd be a project pitch, and we had 2 talks that were based on Ignite. And we were going to have people do startup pitches, and we were going to ask Chris Perillo to judge it. And then we realized that that would just be a clusterfuck. And it just would not work. So we simplified it. We made it projects and talks. He worked for Make Magazine, I worked for O'Reilly Radar. Making and technology. And so that first time, we had everyone come in early, and they made popsicle stick bridges, and then we went with the talks. But over time, projects are hard to video. It's not as much fun to watch. And so Ignite boiled down to just the talks, because that's what could be shared. And while some Ignite organizers end up doing their own projects, most of them don't. Now, the issues that we've had with maintaining Ignite. The first and foremost is succession. So Ignite Boston was one of the earliest. The people who organized it moved on. They're not as interested in it anymore, I understand. But they still are holding on. And we had no good way of really forcing them to give it up, to share it back to the community. And so there have been other sprout-ups here in Boston, like Ignite Auto, Ignite Humor, but not able to be that kind of core flagship event. And we're having a similar problem in other cities. How can we deal with this? I mean, if we had more of a hardcore compliance office, something along those lines, but it's not. It's a headless organization. Also, maintenance. The video portal takes a lot of care and maintenance. It takes volunteers. It's hard to get a group of people to do it. So would I want to organize Ignite a little more? In retrospect, perhaps. But at the same time, I think by being so open and free and welcoming, that's part of what made it spread. And if it ends up having a peak and casting on, I think that's fine. And again, headless organization. We have a mailing list of about 150 organizers. But there are no real tools on that mailing list for consensus for how the event should go forward. A lot of people are just basically independent operators who work together under the idea that 5-minute talks are a great thing to share with your community. And so while Ignites in some places continue growing, in other places it ends up dying because of succession issues. Which leaves us with Ignite today, which is an event with thousands of talks online, with hundreds of events still happening annually, but with no real organization around it. And now I'll share some things that I've learned from the Ignite event itself. One of the reasons it was successful is because I let other people own it. They didn't just have the Ignite logo with their city. Most of them ended up modifying it later to make it personal. So in San Francisco, we have the Sutro Tower, Paris used the Eiffel Tower, Denver used mountains. Bringing people together unifies the goal. And so we did that with Global Ignite Week, where we had as many Ignite talks and as many Ignite events as possible happen during that 1 week. As I said, our peak was 65 events. Use the constraints. The constraints define what you are and also what you aren't. We're a speaker event. It is for the community. It's primarily aimed at geeks, but not only. Ignites can be used by anybody. I know of colleges that use it. I know of Amazon and Google both use it. But stick to what you are and what you aren't. Make rock stars. People love being rock stars. People love the chance to get up on stage. And so if you give others a chance to shine, they'll want to participate. And do unscalable things. This one I just borrowed from Paul Graham. When I first started out, I handled everything about the event. I was getting slides before speakers were going on stage. I would have to stop and be like, oh, sorry, I have to load the next deck. It wasn't until later, I think the second or third event, that I thought of the idea of somebody else personing the laptop while I was bouncing up and down off stage, or somebody else maybe preparing the slides ahead of time. You have to just be prepared to do grunt work to make something happen. And this is advice I give to every Ignite speaker. Never stop. It doesn't matter if your slide hasn't come up yet, keep talking. Keep sharing your ideas, prepare for the next slide, set up the transition, because if you ever stop, the energy dies. And finally, I implore all of you, either go out and create your own event, or do your own Ignite. And if you have any questions about it, find me on Twitter. I'm Brady. Thank you very much.